Hi everybody! Welcome to Console Room. You have come in the Supernatural, a retrospective, and we're so glad that you're here. Before we even dip our toe into the Supernatural universe, I want to let you all know that there will be spoilers. We are going to talk about the final episode, so everything's on the table from Ep 1 to Ep done. So if you do not want to be spoilered, this might not be the panel for you, and we're sorry to see you go, but come back and see us once you're ready to talk about the bittersweet end. And with that disclaimer out of the way, hi, I'm Justine Mastin, LMFT, yogini, writer, podcaster, and contributor to the book Supernatural Psychology. And with me today are co-panelists who I will let introduce themselves. Diana, let's start with you.
Diana, huge Supernatural fan from probably 2005. I even bared through the seasons that were bad. But in retrospect, actually, because I've been rewatching, they're not as bad as I remember.
Mm-hmm. All right.
But yep, you can find me around Console Room in the past. This year, please check out the Escape Room. We've been working really hard on that. All
right. Welcome. And Hugh.
Hey, I'm Hugh Gitlin. I've been a Supernatural fan since about 2010 when I bought an Apple TV and turned on Netflix. I says, what can I watch? And I said, Supernatural. People have been talking about that. And I started binging the first 7 or 8 seasons when I finally caught up to where I was, where I could watch it as it was shown on the CW.
Mm-hmm. All right, welcome. And you both sort of answered my first question, which is, how did you come to the Supernatural fandom? And so I'm going to maybe just ask you to expand on that a little bit. If you have any additional stories about how you came to the fandom, and also what has fandom meant to you and how has it impacted you personally? Hugh, let's start with you this time.
Well, when you start binging a show and it doesn't keep your interest, you stop. And the thing about Supernatural just kept my interest the whole time. Mm-hmm. One thing, I have 2 sisters, so the relationship between Sam and Dean, God, what would it be like to have a brother? And that was very big for me. That really kept me in, mm-hmm. is the relationship between Sam and Dean.
Yeah.
So that's.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sibling bond.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thanks. Diana, how about for you?
I'll say that the reason I got into Supernatural would be because of the past. CW or the WB at the time. I was into Smallville and other shows that were on there, and that felt right into other likes. So then I was watching mm-hmm. it, and then for a while I ended up having not to be able to watch it just because of where I was living and everything like that. But I mean, of course, I picked it back up, and so. But yeah, I've been watching it since the beginning. Love the brother dynamic, and then of course certain people they've had on the show. Call out to Felicia Day, my first female crush.
Oh yeah, love Felicia.
Didn't even know she was in Buffy because I never finished the series of Buffy.
Oh wow!
So other than Dr. Horrible, Supernatural was my mm-hmm. intro for her.
Oh, I have it is unrelated, but because you brought up Felicia, I'm going to tell a very short aside, which is I did a photo op with her years ago and asked if she would do Namaste, do prayer hands with me, which she obliged, and she was lovely. But I was so starstruck that when we said goodbye, she said Namaste, and I said thank Muste, and just kind of ran away from her.
You really gotta love her.
Yeah, so, if we ever meet again, I'm sure she has no memory of it, but I do. Yeah, these are great stories, and it's reminding me of how I came to Supernatural, which I was kind of a late adopter. I didn't join the fandom until maybe 6 or 7 years ago. I had some friends who were watching it, and they're like, "You have to watch it. You're gonna love it." And the reason I hadn't watched it initially, because Diana, same as you, I was watching other CW shows around the same time, but I kept seeing ads for Supernatural, and they were calling Dean from Gilmore Girls Sam. And then there was another character named Dean, and that's literally why I didn't watch it. I was like, how dare you name Dean Sam? If you're not a Gilmore Girls watcher, Jared Padalecki played a character named Dean. And I was just so, like, outraged. Uh, they would not all, like, fine, rename, like, yes, give him a new name, but the fact that his co-star's name was Dean, I was just, awful. And I finally got over myself because my friends were like, you're gonna love this. It's gonna become the obsession of your life. Like, just deal. And it's, I've had many life obsessions, but Supernatural, what it's meant for me is I just so identify with Dean. Like, Dean is kind of this fandom attachment of mine. I so see myself in that character for so many reasons. Not the least of which is that he's a bisexual icon, a bicon. No, there's no one here to laugh, but an audience making stitches. I'm sure cracking up at home. But I have loved being a part of the fandom, even when the fandom is a little bit divisive. And if we have time, we can get to fandom infighting, but not yet. For now, I'm curious for each of you, what were your favorite episodes, tropes, characters, moments, whatever you would like you hold up as being like, oh, this is just the best. This is just my favorite. Diana, do you have examples of favorites?
I do say like the first season really caught on because for me was because like some of the stories, like they were the old urban legends.
Mm-hmm.
Like the first one, it's the women white or other known names, you know, but they also, they did the Wendigo really well.
Yeah.
I mean, like if you really read into the actual myths of the Wendigo, they actually nailed it. But I really, those first episodes were just really great, and it brought the help. I call them my boys.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how much they're my boys. I'm like, I didn't want to say goodbye to my boys this year. I mean, I started rewatching Supernatural again just so I didn't have to end. At least I'm somewhere in betweening. But yeah, there's so many different stories. They're first with the Leviathans when they meet Charlie. Even when the LARPing episode.
I love the LARPing episode.
And they weren't afraid to make fun of themselves. They broke the fourth wall how many different times. It was great. And Scooby Natural, of course, but
yeah.
But yeah, just the making fun of things, just of themselves, or you know, like not understanding something. Like they didn't understand LARPing, but they totally got into it.
Yeah, and we found out Dean is a huge nerd.
Exactly.
If he'd just been allowed to,
we knew Sam was a nerd. From the beginning. We didn't know Dean was a nerd. Yeah.
Yeah, Hugh, how about for you? What were some bright spots, big happy moments?
French mistake when they come into our world.
Yes.
And with Misha, doing Misha with the Twitter, that was awesome. I bet you were disappointed that Gilmore Girls wasn't mentioned when they would call Jared Dean, and that's the one thing I go, God, that would really confuse them all if that one. But and the one with the TV shows,
Changing Channels.
That was awesome. That was a fun episode.
Yeah.
Of course, Scooby Natural. I mean, if you don't like Scooby Natural, you're not a person. I'm sorry. With the ending of Scooby Natural with the ascot.
Oh,
that's cracked me up.
Yes. Yeah. Diana, what's coming up for you?
No, just with the Scooby Natural, I read an article that they're saying that they could take Supernatural. I mean, okay, there was an animated series. People didn't know. But
web series, right?
There was a Supernatural animated series a few years back.
I didn't know that.
But anyway, it obviously didn't really catch up. But I was reading an article where they said how they could keep Dean and Sam alive, not in the future part, which we have at the end of 15, but doing Scooby-Doo Supernatural shows.
Oh,
which I would be so down for that.
Well, and
I mean, even if it's just a few episodes, just
Yeah.
And also the 200th episode where they're at the school in the musical. That was just
fan fiction.
No. It was. I don't know. Fan fiction was the I thought. Was that fan fiction? The 200th episode at the school with the musical.
Oh, you're saying 300th. Sorry.
300. That's right.
Okay.
I'm sorry. All those zeros are running together. The 300th episode at the school. That was just fun.
That's
watching those girls dressed up as Sam and Dean.
Oh, so good.
Adam and.
It is. Fan fiction's the 200th episode.
Is the 200th?
And that's the one with. They get the note or something to go to this place and.
Okay, got it. I'm just gonna bring it back around for anyone who was like, I left to go Google what you all were talking about. 200th episode, fan fiction with the Supernatural musical. Yes? Yes. Okay. Yeah, that's a great app. Wonderful fourth wall breaking in that one too. Yeah. So I'm hearing a theme between the two of you that you like the silly eps. You like the fourth wall breaking, so we like that trope. Who are your favorite characters? I know it's like asking people to
you're not talking children. You're not talking about the big three though, or you're talking about others than if you're talking about the big three, Sam is my favorite.
Okay. You're a Sam dude. Got
I'm
it.
a Sam guy. But if you're talking about like various demons or people that come in like very few shows, like 3 or 4 shows, Gabriel. Gabriel was my favorite.
Yeah.
That was because you knew some chaos was going to happen if you see him show up.
Oh man, I mean Gabriel and the changing channels. That's so good. And yeah, anytime he shows up, there's going to be something silly and probably hilarious.
Well, and with Gabriel, you didn't know it was Gabriel for a while. It was just the trickster or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
They thought he was just some kind of, an enemy of some sort. And then with changing channels, but in changing channels, when Castiel got, what could do that? You're an angel.
Right. Yeah. No trickster gods have the power.
I'm still in pain whenever I see the Japanese game show part of that. I go, oh.
Well, that episode launched 1,000 memes, right? That I still get sent to this day. Diana, who are your favorites? It could be big three, it could be ancillary, it can be whatever comes up.
So I've switched allegiance. I'm sorry for Team Sam. I am now Team Dean.
Sorry, Hugh, you're out.
I have now probably watched, like I was saying, I was doing the rewatch. I'm not finished yet because I had to watch The Boys. So I kind of ended up like watching and like, I'm relating more to Dean. I get, so it's like, all right, I'm Team Dean now. Will always probably be Team Castiel more though, but between the boys. And side character type thing, Rowena.
Oh, yeah.
I
nice choice.
Love her from the beginning, from her saying Fergus and Fergus.
His name is Fergus.
Fergus.
To her redemption and throughout the whole time and the end, it was like, oh, you just saved Earth to become by bringing, it was like Never would have saw that coming at the beginning of her arc.
No, for sure not. Like she was going to be a big bad, right? And
but it worked with her arc because
mm-hmm.
it wasn't just we're going to just toss this in. We got to get end this part. It wasn't. Mm-hmm. It worked with her.
Yeah, she had some real character development, especially Hugh. For you, she had that bond with Samuel. And really, it was her bond with humanity. Yeah. Yeah, I loved that.
Yeah, I like the way that, I mean, if the producers were really good at finding out who's popular, and they kept bringing people who are popular back on the show again. Mm-hmm. They had this little, I think they had this like sixth sense to be able to bring people you thought where you'll never see again. They come back and mm-hmm. and that was awesome.
Yeah, we had some amazing characters, recurring characters. Yeah.
Or they would come back to direct the show once they get written off. Too.
Sure.
Like Richard Spade.
Yep. Your boy Gabriel.
Yeah. They got rid of Gabriel. He kept coming back to direct episodes, though.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I did hope for season 15 he'd show up again because he never always seemed to have died.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean that's one of the great things, right? And I think as we're talking about tropes as well, like you never knew if somebody was really dead. And was that a pro or a con? Were you happy that you might see a character again, or were you frustrated?
Well, if their bones weren't burned, they weren't dead.
It's still on the table. Yeah.
You got it.
Well, they kind of had Joe brought back. Joe and brain fart on her daughter.
Helen.
The daughter. Helen, yeah. They were kind of brought back in a alternate universe. Not the Apocalypse one, but the other one where Bobby was married to Helen and
mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the many alternate universes.
Right. And it was like, well, we can save the world or but it was like there had to be a decision.
Yeah.
That either you were going to save the world by for as much as Hunter's can have.
Yeah. I was disappointed that we didn't get Joe and Ellen coming back.
Yeah.
But we got Harvell's. That's where Bobby and Dean met. Harvell's.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true.
The bar was back, but not the people.
That's true. And to be fair, I haven't gone down a Tumblr hole to see what the folks had intended, but I know they had wanted to have more characters come back at the end, but COVID.
Yeah.
But I would have loved to see Joe and Ellen like at any time.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And we're going to come to stuff that bothered us in just a minute. I just want to spend a little bit more time on Happy Town. So I make it absolutely no secret that Dean is my one true. He's not even a pairing. He's just my one true. And then I do believe his one true pairing is Castiel. Again, we can circle back to that later. No hate to anyone who ships anything else. I'm not trying to sink any ships. I'm just telling you about mine. And I'm with the both of you. I love when they're silly. I love when they break the fourth wall. My favorites have already been mentioned, except for the monster at the end of this book. Which is, for any folks who don't remember that one, that's when the boys discover the line of books written by Chuck.
Yep.
And it's such beautiful, like, fourth wall confusion, and we meet Chuck, and we don't know how important he's going to be. Yeah, he's just Chuck.
Chuck, he's a writer.
Right. He's such a prototypical writer. He's just like this neurotic little man. But I love watching the boys read their books, and Dean's like, I'm full frontal in here, and it's all the silliness and also meaning. Like there's also meaning there because we're getting that mythology, because we at the time find out that Chuck is you know, a
prophet at the time.
thank you. I was like,
Just a
cantor?
prophet, yes.
Cantor's not the word I want. A prophet of God. And so you get the mythology too. What I have loved about this show is the mix of play and meaning, because to me, as a psychotherapist, that's kind of the crux of the work that I do, is the corner of play and meaning making. And so this show just sort of is that, which is so amazing.
I mean,
Make you laugh or cry.
it starts out in the first season, it's Monster of the Week for like the first 10 episodes, and all of a sudden we meet Meg,
Mm-hmm.
and then all of a sudden you're going, okay, this is now more about the relationship between man and demon and man and God and things like that. But it started out Monster of the Week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
And
it was awesome.
Yeah, well, because life is both. I literally said this to a client the other day. They were like, I feel like all we talk about in our sessions is they didn't frame it this way. They're like, I feel like all we talk about in our sessions is like what's happening right now. And I'm like, you know what? Our life is both. It's Monster of the Week and it's the ongoing mythology. We got to deal with the monsters of the week so we can learn how to put that learning into action with the mythology. All right. Any other favorites, happy moments before we dip our toe into some of the less happy stuff?
Ghost Facers.
Yeah.
How could we forget Ghost Facers? They're great. Yeah.
Because it was also like the whole it was a spoof on the not stupid, but like the paranormal TV show, reality shows. It's like.
Yep. Ghost Hunters
but then
International.
Things like that, but they were just a thorn in their side, in the boys' side, because it's like you're just making things worse thinking you know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And then everything that you see them throughout the thing, they've learned. It's because you learned it from the boys, because they saved your butt the last time you saw them.
Right. Yep.
But I do love the nod at Ivan Reitman with naming him Spengler and Zedmore.
Mm-hmm.
So that was nice. That was a good nod at that for that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the show is always so full of Easter eggs. If you know, you know. And if you don't know, you're going to find out if you go on Tumblr.
I go, which alias are we going to use this week? Which rock icon are they going to be this week?
Mm-hmm.
Spears and Aguilera. I love when Castiel did that.
Beyonce? Was that ancient Beyonce?
Yeah. Oh, that was. Oh, it's so sweet and such a beautiful touch, because the boys, they love their classic rock, but Cass, yeah, the names he would choose, Lizzo. I'm Agent Lizzo. Like, oh, you know everything in the universe, and this is what you chose. Like, my heart. And now I feel like I need to bring up Crowley, because I do love a Crowley. He's got such great moments. I guess we could sit here and list every character forever.
Probably.
But let's get into some of the stuff that's less joyful. I am curious. We talked about our favorites. How about your least favorites / the most problematic eps or tropes or characters? What just kind of got? Even though you love this show, just kind of, it's like sand in the ointment. What bugged you?
I don't know why, but the Michael stuff just bothered me. I don't know why it did, but it did.
Mm-hmm. Which Michael stuff? Because we had a whole
the Dean as Michael was
okay. Yeah,
putting him in the coffin or whatever it's called. That bothered that, and it's bothered Sam too. I think that's why it bothered me.
Sure.
But that was, I didn't like that. I wait till it got over, and it got over. It came back, but it got over. So
yeah. So you're talking about when Dean went to hell.
Yes.
Yeah.
And came back. It was Michael, and Michael was he was a meat suit for Michael.
That was Apocalypse Michael, though.
Yeah, that one.
Because
That part of Michael.
Adam
And
still
Michael
had
wanted to
because
start
Adam
the
still
account-
had Michael,
Mhm.
Right,
Brian Michael.
because Michael wanted to start Apocalypse. Michael wanted to start the apocalypse. So
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh. Well, and that's why I asked which Michael arc, because we've had
That's-
so
that's the
many.
yes, that Mike, the Apocalypse Michael was not my favorite.
Yeah.
arc.
Yeah, fair. Because I mean, we got Dean in a jaunty hat, but otherwise,
And a good suit.
it was oh, you know what? That's another one of my favorite things is Dean in outfits. But really, that's just like my mental Dean doll, and we get to swap out his outfits, and sometimes he's in the 40s. And so, anyway, but but Diana, how about for you? What was stuff that kind of just bugged you?
Scott, I want to say it's not all of the Men in Letters stuff because I ended up liking Ketch near the end, but like I like Ketch better than Tony. Like she
Which
was
one
like
was Tony?
she was the one who captured Sam when she was only supposed to get information, and she started torturing him.
See, this is how much I didn't care for her. I didn't even remember
Exactly.
she existed.
I forgot her
And
name.
then I just finished that season, so
Okay.
but like just the whole like you didn't need to torture. It's like it was like so stupid because it's like, and then they're all like, well, yeah, she went a little overboard. She wasn't supposed to do that. It's like, well, then why did we have to have that?
Right.
She could have just been. They could have came in, as we're going to help you. This is this. Instead, you just gave us the worst impression of you guys ever. Which, of course, that's the whole point was for the season.
Mhm.
But that season could have also helped develop Mary more
Right.
with them,
Right.
the bonding,
Mhm.
and not having to deal with, can we trust the Men of Letters or can we not?
Mhm. Yeah.
I just would have liked like all that. And then, of course, because then you got the whole Jack stuff coming in.
Right. Yeah. How did you both feel about Jack?
At the beginning, I didn't care for him,
Mm-hmm.
but as Castiel and Sam and Dean start working with him to get rid of try to tamp down the Lucifer side of him,
Mm-hmm.
I started liking him a lot more. And I thought Jack was a good addition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Diana, how'd you feel?
Hesitant like Dean was always. It's
Follow Dean's lead. Yeah.
well, it's like, can we trust this guy? Because Dean was always he didn't want to trust Castiel right away. That took a lot. You had to earn your trust unless you were a Winchester.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't even want to trust the Campbells.
Yeah.
But
that's true.
it's like it just goes down to this nature versus nurture with Jack. And there was enough nature, but there was so much nurture for him to be good, and him being reminded that your mom knew you would be good.
Mm-hmm.
And that helped, I think, with that. It's like, it's like, no. You're here because your mom knew you would be good.
Yeah.
And they kept reminding, and having a role model like Castiel, who's still fumbling as an angel, half human, part human.
Well, the other thing with Jack is he was hard on himself too.
Yeah.
Kills that guy and he just goes into a shell for 2 episodes, it seemed like, after that happened.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, he was harder on himself than Sam or Dean or Castiel was.
Mm-hmm.
So you could see the goodness, because when he does something just out of anger and with a bad consequence, he's harder on himself than Sam or Dean or Castiel would ever been.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or were to him.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel similarly. When Jack first appeared, I was like, oh great, another character. How am I gonna feel about this guy? And yeah, I also wasn't sure, and they really did a nice job of growing his character and having him be conflicted. Because he is the son of Lucifer. Like you're gonna have some nature stuff in here. But
Exactly.
right? But he's got so much of the nurturance, and the literature tells us that is more important. So, nice job, Supernatural.
Plus, he's got his mother in. His mother was a nice person.
Yeah, he's got that nature going too. Yeah. Um, so I I'm curious because what's coming up for me, I have a couple of big sticking points with this universe. And I know why they exist, and they still bother me. One is queer baiting. And for folks at home, if that's a new term for you, queer baiting is when a show infers that a character is in some way on the LGBTQIA spectrum, but never allows them to outright say that, so it doesn't become canon. And they don't allow them to fulfill that romantically with another character. So there's a ton of queer baiting in the show, and the lack of representation of people of color and women. And those are, I know why it is happening, and it still bothers me. Thoughts,
Yeah.
feelings?
I would have loved to have them run into the female version of them, a pair of sisters hunting or something like that.
Oh, sure. A mirror verse where they're women. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would have been fun. I was hoping for something like that. That never came. There were women hunters, but they're usually with a guy or something like that. There weren't a pair. You never saw a pair of women hunters out on their own hunting.
Well, I mean, we had the Hanscom.
Yeah, Hanscom and Jody
Mills.
Jody Mills and
the Wayward Sisters crew.
Yeah, yeah, and the Wayward Sisters crew. But I mean, I don't know why CW didn't pick it up. I thought that episode was fun.
Agree. Yeah.
And I thought the characters would have. I thought having Claire Novak leading a team of hunters would have just been so badass. And they brought back Claire for a couple other episodes after that, but I like the character Claire Novak, and would have been great to have her around for a little more, or even have her join Sam and Dean in the bunker for a bit.
Oh yeah, that would have been fun. she'd have had those boys jumping.
Because she was more gung ho than they were. It seems like when it came to hunting.
Well, she was still full on revenge mode. So.
Oh yeah, but still, I mean, she was good too. She was a good hunter.
Yeah. And a good hunter. Yeah, and a good actress. And now she's like famous. Maybe they couldn't get her back.
That might be it. I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, Diana, how do you feel about representation on the show?
I'm with you guys. There wasn't enough certain but I will say they did have Eileen. So she was a single female, and she was deaf. And yes, they killed her. They brought her back. They don't know how she came back. However, and we don't know, since everybody else seemed to come back at the end of being snapped. The snap in Supernatural, basically, guys. She was gone, but all the other people came back. So it's fair to say that she was back, and we never saw who Sam married.
Oh, that's true.
So I want to think that it's her.
Oh, that's a fun fanfic. I like that.
Yeah.
Because it just you don't know. You just saw a person in the background.
A brunette, his type.
Yep.
Exactly. But there was never even any serious heterosexual relationships really either, other than Lisa. But so there really never was. There were the flings, one night flings or whatever, but there was never any heterosexual. And I think the one love story of hunters I saw were the two gay guys. Can't think of their names. And after they got the revenge, then they went to go settle and be their ranch. They were done, and they're like, they're out. It was just a sweet little thing, oh.
Yeah.
And that was the most serious relationship that you saw between hunters for a romantic.
And then
And it was
the only hunter you see with a family is Garth after he retires.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, that, and he was also a werewolf, so.
Yeah, but
He
still,
had some other
but
stuff
after
going on.
he was still hunting and a werewolf. He was a monster and hunting at the same time.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
But I mean, but he had retired and he was
Mm-hmm.
living in Wisconsin or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, and I want to be fair because I know the show exists like on the CW. The fan base is just brutal when it comes to the boys and their love interests. And I know they didn't want to give in or take away anybody's ships, but in trying to please everyone, I felt displeased. And what I mean by that is I felt the queer baiting, especially around Dean.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but there were absolutely moments you could point to say, like, queer folks are kind of experts at subtext, at finding those winks and nudges, because for so long queers have not been represented, right? And there's so many winks and nudges. Like, it's a sea of winks and nudges that Dean is bisexual. And to have at the end Castiel confirm that he's been in love with Dean, which we're all like, duh, we've known that since the dude showed up. And not have Dean say anything back. It was so upsetting.
but are angels binary? That's the question. He's just occupying a man's body, or Castiel's just occupying a man's body.
He could have picked a
kind
different
of
body at any time.
Castiel's kind of, he's like, I can't really, but I know, he knew that, like, I honestly, under the circumstances, this is how I feel. It is true. It's true love, but it's not the same kind of love because he's an angel. He was kind of making that point, like, he's like, but I know.
Yeah. If Jimmy Novak hadn't died and Janie Novak had died and Castiel goes into Janie Novak's body.
Oh, for sure, we would have had a love story.
I mean, is an angel binary? Angels aren't binary, so what's the relation? I mean, the relationship between Castiel and Dean I see no problem.
Yeah.
Well, no, I didn't either.
It's a non-binary and a male.
Yeah. This could be a whole nother panel, which maybe I'll pitch that for the next whenever. But for now, I'm curious, any other stuff that bugged us about the show, even in loving it, because you know what? Both things can be true. You can love something and see it critically. Any other apps, tropes, characters that you were just like, just not my favorite? And there doesn't need to be. I'm just making space for it.
I don't think.
I'm just Bella.
Oh, Bella. Yeah, Bella.
And I think they realized that no one liked her, so they finally just kind of okay, you sold your soul. That's why you're like this. Okay, hellhounds are going to get you. Because nobody liked her. I didn't. I was like, goodbye. So annoying.
I was reading the little today on the show, and I think Eric wanted to add some female characters to the show, so they brought in Ruby and Bella the same season.
Mm-hmm.
And they figured it out right away. Yeah, I mean, even before, probably as they were shooting the show, they probably realized that was the wrong mix.
Yeah, and Hugh, I'm glad you brought up Ruby, because that's, as a character, I like the character of Ruby. And I'm so sorry, Jared, but I didn't like Genevieve as Ruby.
I like the first one too.
Yeah, I liked Ruby
Katie
once.
I can't even Katie. Well, yeah,
Katie
she went off into Arrowverse, but
yeah, like, so sorry. I'm glad that you fell in love. I'm glad that you're happy, but I did not like Jen at playing that character.
But she was great as Genevieve.
Sure, she did a great job playing herself on French Mistake. I mean, I guess. I've never met her. Maybe she was completely not playing herself. Okay. we dipped a toe a little bit into this when I was talking about we were talking about some fanfic, right? So I'm gonna lump these together. Which of your fanfic wishes came true, and which of your fanfic wishes were unfulfilled on the show?
Well, when I was at a panel at Convergence in 2019,
Mm-hmm.
2020, before the last season, the thing is, how do you want the show to end? And the show ended the way the second to last episode. I said I want them doing what they did at the end of the second last episode, just winning and driving off into the sunset.
Yeah.
And I go, and then after that, I go, God, how are they going to top this? And when we get to the end, they did.
Oh, okay. Well, we're gonna circle back to the ending.
Yeah.
All right. So you had at least one fanfic dream come true. Diana, how about for you?
It's so hard because it's like I felt the same way. They were gonna go out. I knew that they weren't gonna go out with the big way they did. Like not the second to last episode.
Yep. 19.
You know, like yeah. I'm like, no, it's fine. But I wanted that to have. I wanted the way it ended in the first one because I wanted it to be more of a. This is how this is normal. You're not beating the big bad this time.
Right.
You beat the big bad, and you're just going to go off and live on your life and do the same thing you did any other time of your day, and have just a happy time. And, I guess, and in a way they did kind of drive off into the sunset with baby later anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm hearing that overall we felt satisfied with the end of the penultimate ep. That felt like how we pictured the ending to be. Like
yes.
the boys beat the big bad, they drive off into the sunset, and ellipses fanfic forever.
I spent that whole week after that 19th episode of the season, like, what are they gonna do now? What are they gonna do now? They've beaten the big bad. They beat Chuck, and they're going off into the into the sunset. What are they gonna do? And we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
I think I want to clarify.
Yes.
I liked how 19 was, but I did not want that, and I liked how it ended, but I wanted how 20 ended more.
Okay, got it.
So
all right. Other fanfic that came true or didn't come true. I mean, I can say that my Destiel fanfic did not come true. And that brought a lot of sadness. I never thought it would, to be fair. The fact that we even got Castiel expressing his love is a big deal, and I do not want to poo-poo that because I was very happy to see that. But in my fanfic, they at least held hands. Little smooch, please. This is the slowest burn in the history of television. This is a slower burn than the X-Files. We got a baby on that show.
that's true.
Yeah, so that was unrequited fanfic for me. Yeah, Hugh.
Like I some of the stuff. There's the romantic stuff. I'd love to seen some of the relationships last a little longer and then kind of peter out. But I mean, like we said earlier, I mean, they had no time for romance in the show because of they're trying to stay one step ahead of demons and bad angels and things like that, and they'd be irresponsible to drag someone else into that circle.
And we did see.
So maybe they didn't have romance because of that.
Yeah, that's fair. And again, this could be a whole panel, and I think it will be in the future. All right. Well, we seem to very naturally be coming into how we feel about the ending. So, any final fanfic that came true or didn't come true before we shift into the end? Carry on.
Yeah, God.
Okay, so how did we feel about the very end? Sounds like everyone was satisfied with the penultimate ending. How did we feel about the end?
I was satisfied. I ugly cried. But it's like, yeah, he went out because of vampires, but that's the way I wanted it. I didn't want it to be the big bad, just like, because that just kind of like, that just ruins the whole thing. It's like, no, you're just going to go out because you always knew. Dean always said he was going to die hunting.
Right.
And stay dead.
It was a run-of-the-mill monster too. It wasn't
right. It wasn't just right. It was just something normal. You're doing your normal thing, what you do all the time, and and then it kind of released Sam to have somewhat of normal life. Unfortunately, it was sad, but
it was full circle too. It was the first vampire pod that they met is the one that did him in.
Oh, sure.
And watching Sam and Dean the Second. It's not Dean Jr. because that's Dean's kid, but Dean the Second. Watching his relationship with Dean the Second is just wonderful. I mean, the father and son dynamic that Sam and Dean the Second had, and with Dean the Second at his bed as he was dying was just oh man. It was just while Dean the First is driving to the ultimate meeting place with Sam.
Yeah.
It's just oh God, I was crying.
Yeah, I also ugly cried. I finished off a box of tissues because I watched this yesterday. Folks at home, I was telling my co-panelists this before we got rolling. I have been putting off watching the end because I am a person for whom endings are very hard, and I was like, well, if I just don't watch it, it won't be over.
Yeah, I was like that too.
Logical, right? See, friends at home, even your therapists have their own stuff.
That's why I started rewatching it.
Right. Well, I saw on my calendar that we were going to be doing this. I was like, you cannot put this off anymore. You have to watch it. You cannot moderate Supernatural, a retrospective, and not know what happens. And so I sat down and I had 10 eps to watch. Yeah, I know. I did this last time we were on a panel. Because I like to binge them anyway. I sat down and I cried a lot. And parts of me were satisfied and parts of me weren't. But now that I've sat with it for a while, I fully agree with both of you. I love that it was a mundane monster of the week because that's how all hunters go out, right? And how Dean always knew he would. Parts of me really wish 19 had been the end because I like stories that end in action, like the finale of Angel. They're just running into battle and we don't know what happens. So parts of me were satisfied and parts of me weren't, which I think is good. Because that, to me, that says, like, the audience generally was probably happy. Because if I have some parts that are satisfied and some that aren't, everybody got something. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't want them to die. I had parts that were like, I don't want them to die. Which, like, long enough timeline, that's where we're all headed. But
Sam did die of old age.
Sam died, yeah. Yeah. Sam had a natural death.
Yeah, which amazing for a hunter, and clearly he was still somehow in that world.
That's where I feel like Eileen was involved too, because
Yeah.
And he
so
had
we never saw the
dark
mother.
hair. He had Dean's the Second had her dark hair. That's why I'm sticking to that story.
I love that. No, That is not something I had thought about, that Eileen maybe had come back, but that's very sweet. And would explain, I figured they didn't show her face because they're like, fandom's gonna hate us no matter what we do. Here is a faceless woman that is wife and mother. But I like it better that they were hiding from us that it was Eileen. I like that lens better.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the bridge. I mean, the bridge where it all started is where it all ends, too.
Yeah, that's
bridge,
really
yeah.
beautiful.
I mean, they did a great job bringing everything full circle, bringing the end to the beginning. So,
And I found it was
getting to
more
the end.
important that Dean met Bobby and not like his mom or dad.
Yeah, because that was his caretaker. Bobby was his dad.
That was it.
Mm-hmm.
He was there more than John was.
Because
John was on full vengeance mode.
Well, Bobby goes, everyone's here. He started rattling off all the names.
Did you catch though?
Your mom and dad, Joe, Ellen. You started rattling. Rufus, I think he mentioned that they were all there.
Yeah.
And he mentioned that it's not their own pockets anymore, but he said Jack did it with the help of Castiel, which is like, wasn't Castiel in the empty? So Jack did something to get Castiel.
Yep.
Which was kind of a nice thing. It was a quick catch, but it was like,
yeah.
That's why I watch in subtitles.
Yeah, same. I always watch subtitles. And that's fair because we got another wink and a nudge from Bobby because he tells us Cass is there and he lets Dean know there's no rules anymore.
Yeah.
So whatever life you want to lead, you can lead now. And so
sure.
us queerdos got another wink and a nudge, but I was like, but just bring him here. Let them cohabitate.
Not off the final episode, but the nice thing I liked about was with Supernatural also was angels weren't black and white and with the demons. It was like, so the demons are good and the angels aren't very good. It's like pretty much. Demons had their things, but they weren't really, they were just they were just twisted souls.
Yeah.
And they mentioned that. And some of them had their, I'm a crossbow demon, I'm just doing my job. Then you got Crowley, who's like, whatever helps me out.
Crowley was the king of the demons, not at the beginning, but he kind of worked his way out.
King of Hell. Well, yeah.
King of Hell.
Yeah,
and
but
then,
just a narcissist.
Yeah.
But he didn't. He could have done in Moose and Squirrel at any point.
Sure.
But they helped him his end game, and in the end, he helped.
He did. Yeah.
He appreciated them.
Yeah, it was. He had his. But yeah, he could have just been I'm just this evil prick, and nope, I'm just you don't really know if I'm evil or not, but I'm a prick still.
Well, he did put Lucifer in a cage for,
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, I'm glad we're talking about this. Actually, I am feeling a lot more settled about that ending. Yeah. I think there were parts of me that wanted to write the ending themselves. Right? And being told what the actual ending was, parts of me were like, no, we don't like it. But I think there is some real satisfaction in finding out that it was, there was a lot of happily ever after.
Yeah.
Eventually. Happy eventually after.
Yeah.
Happily ever eventually.
Bobby told Dean time's different. So Dean's version of the one song, Carry On My Wayward Son, and all of a sudden it was Sam's whole rest of his lifetime.
Right.
So Dean didn't really feel like he didn't miss out on Sam because it's just because time is relevant.
4 minutes for Dean and 650 years for Sam.
And Sam got to be happy.
Yeah.
Oh, neither one of them were sad. Okay. Yeah. All right. You know what?
It was a happy ending.
It is a happy ending. Oh, okay. Well, as we're coming to the end of our time, I'm curious, what's next? What's next for the Supernatural fandom now that there's no new episodes?
I think people will try to watch Walker just because Jared's on it.
Well, then you got The Boys.
The Boys season 3 with Jensen as Soldier Boy. You know, so I watched the first 2 seasons. Hey, and if I don't know when this is showing, but if it's showing before Saturday at 10:30 p.m. At 10:30 p.m. we have a live panel on The Boys. So
Yep.
On the Discord.
Okay. On the Discord, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I'm supposed to be on it, but things may still get rearranged because if we are doing Wibbly Wobbly Saturday trivia, we haven't. That's not 100% yet. Don't
do it early so you come to 10:30.
Well, it's also because of Mr. T. Aaron Cisco's schedule.
That's
all right. You problem solving for later. For now,
exactly.
What's next for the Supernatural fandom, Diana? What do you think?
I was saying earlier, we could have more episodes of Scooby Natural. I thought that article was really great. Jensen's also basically stated, you never know, 5 years down the line, maybe less, we might come back. You know, like they're open to coming back. And it's Supernatural, so it can happen. Well, I know, but it's Supernatural, so they can.
I know. No, you know what? Forget I said anything. Anything could happen.
I mean, what's next for the fandom is they're gonna try Jared's new project. They're gonna go watch The Boys, and because it's got Jensen. But it's a different type of show. I mean, Walker is a cop show with, I think there's some family involved in it, things like that. So I want to see what they do with that reboot. I mean, he's not Chuck Norris.
No, and isn't
Thankfully.
Jen playing his wife? And I'm so sorry, Jen. I just don't know.
I don't even know.
Is Jen playing?
Well,
he's
Walker. Going after something happened to his family, and he's going. It's kind of a revenge kind of thing. So yeah. I mean,
okay, so small role for Jen.
I'm assuming. Okay. Yeah. I feel like it's like the backstory of Renegade, where something happened and now you're going off and, you know, this time he's doing it by the law instead of, you know, not.
Got it.
Yeah. Those who don't know, Renegade was a Lorenzo Lamas syndicated only show back in the 90s.
Cheesy show.
But I think I don't know. I feel like there could be.
I think you could still watch old episodes of that on H&I on the weekends.
I don't know. I'm not ready to say goodbye to The Boys, and I'm glad I still have them. 15 seasons of Netflix to keep going if I wanted to.
Yeah, you can always watch old episodes on Netflix until the CW finally says, let's do our own streaming service for pay, and takes it off there and throws it on their own.
I don't know. They might not.
Yeah.
Because they've been really good about getting Netflix. Like, as soon as their series ends, it's right on Netflix.
The week after, yes. It's a 1 week.
So wait. I really feel like I feel like they've got a good symbiote relationship right now. And with Xfinity, you can watch the next day on their, you know, not on demand necessarily, but also the CW's app.
CW app.
Streaming.
Yes, on streaming.
The next day. So
that's how I usually watch Supernatural. I've never watched anything at the right time. Watch it when I need to.
Oh no, I never could either. I was always having to be a day behind on Supernatural.
Yeah. So we're always gonna have The Boys. We have 15 whole seasons of them and the whole menagerie. And Hugh, back
books.
to
comics.
And you know, back to your point of coming back to the beginning, I do see this like a circle. I mean, it's not that we're at the end of a straight line. We've come back to the beginning of a circle. And yeah, just start it again. Like, and I feel like the characters were trying to tell us in those final episodes, like, we're not gone, we're always here. And our fandom attachments are always with us.
And it's a show that you could go back to in 5 years, and it's not going to age as bad as some shows from the 90s. You know, when you try to rewatch them, you're like, what?
Just Sam's hair.
this, it's like, it's not one of those, it's one of those, like, there's a couple things that you might be, but it's not like it didn't age well.
Right, because it's got that ageless aesthetic, because they picked a classic rock aesthetic.
Exactly.
Rock, the clothing that they wear
was normal, natural,
timeless clothing. I mean, it's basically
flannel. Always good.
Buffalo plaid and jeans. I mean, it's never go out of style.
Yeah,
exactly.
And Castile suits. I mean, it's just plain black tie and a white shirt.
It'll always be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, friends, we've come to the end of our time. I'm curious, before we close out, any final thoughts, anything we didn't get to that you were just, I need to say this before we close out?
I loved the weaponry.
I
love the blades. I like the Winchester or the Colt. I love the Colt. I love all the different blades. I love that kind of stuff. Was awesome too. They always had the right tool to take care of the monster.
And then some that he was never allowed to use, like the ninja throwing stuff.
I know. He never got
it sounds like no.
Yeah.
Or when he does get to use a weapon, he's like, yes, I wanted to use this for so long. No, their little arsenal was great. I really want to know what Goofer Dust is, though.
Yeah, what is it actually composed of? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Diana, any final thoughts before we close out?
No. I mean, it's hard, but no, I don't have anything that we didn't cover or anything like that. I'm just going to miss them and thank God for Netflix.
Yeah. All right. Well, where can folks at home find you if they want to stay connected? Hugh?
Oh, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram when I post stuff. It'll be at Skyumagopher, SKIUMAHGOPHER.
All right, thank you. Diana?
Probably the only one that's more open is my Instagrams. Diana Tonn is my main one, but the one that's more active is tybalt.clover.naya. They're my cats.
Great. Nobody's complaining about more cat content.
Exactly. But yeah, check out the escape room with on this weekend, and I'll be running a couple other panels, and won't be the same, but
yeah, but we're doing the best we can do, right?
Exactly.
Right. And you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Mind Body Fandom, because I take a holistic approach to healing, mind, body, and fandom. You can also find me at my website, blueboxcounseling.com. I do not need to explain that reference to this crowd. So refreshing.
I would hope not.
Keep calm and don't blink.
And I have a book coming out. I'll be doing a reading for Console Room. The book is called Starship Therapize, Using Therapeutic Fan Fiction to Rewrite Your Life. And I'll be doing that reading at some point. I don't know when things are not airing, which reminds me, check out the schedule at the Console Room website, console-room.com, for all the news and content for this event. And we're so glad that you're here. We miss seeing you in person, but it's great to have some way to stay in touch. So, and until we meet again, bye, boys.
Bye.
Bye, boys.